verifiable information that has some sort of application and benefit to, especially in this group, to them.
I asked that. I mean, I know this privacy policy is old, but for the most part in here, it doesn't talk about intelligence. It talks about information. And so I guess I probably have a whole line of questions for that then. Well, what do you consider open source information? Because that's mentioned in the policy.
Yeah, open source information is anything that anybody can get.
Okay,
so simple as that.
So, like, would the CIAC be getting information from Facebook, say, if they had a
Yes.
possible lead on a person? Okay. And do they go as far as to get an agreement with them or a memorandum of understanding, or do they just get what's public on the site?
It's what's public.
Okay. And then, does the CIAC have access to red light cameras?
Not directly.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't really have anything to do with that.
Okay. It's just every fusion center is different. So.
Yeah, in our case, let's just say if they acquired information that a person who did something suspicious was later found to have committed an illegal act, they might go and get images from a local law enforcement agency, but they themselves don't operate cameras. They don't have any intelligence equipment like that.
Yeah. Does the CIAC have access to the state driver's license databases?
Yes.
Yeah, I would think so. Just making sure, because one of them told me no on the phone.
Yeah, no, they do.
Say if I had information, or information was collected about me in the fusion center, but it's not based, there's no criminal nexus yet, how would I find out if that information is there? If, like, say, if there's some information that's wrong, potentially wrong in there, how would I go about correcting that if I don't know it's there?
Well, in the first place, information isn't collected on people. It's collected on events.
Okay.
And that's the predicate that causes them to initiate any kind of activity. They don't just spy on people, and they don't target names, and they don't target people. They target events. The privacy policy that is coming out, I think, will address that. I haven't, it's not put into final form, but there will be a process that you can use to inquire whether or not information has been collected. On top of that, you can also request under the state's law, Colorado Open Records Act, any information that an agency has on you. And that law is called CORA, C-O-R-A. It's similar, but it isn't the same as the Federal Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah. Does that include information in a criminal investigation?
If it's an active criminal investigation, usually not.
Let's see. So then, I mean, if that's the case, if they're collecting stuff on events, then what would the CIAC do if, say, they find out a large rally is happening and they think that it might be an anti-government rally, like maybe an End the Fed rally or a Tea Party rally? What would they go about doing there?
If they thought there was some reason to share that information with somebody else, they would summarize a report and send it out to all their partners, which are not just law enforcement agencies, but private industry, anybody that might have some sort of reason to know.
Okay. So would there be, if then you found an event that raised some suspicion, would you then go into a background check on people then? Because I know, like, as the Arizona Fusion Center, I forget the exact name of it, but whenever they have a rally that's taking place, if it's suspicious, they go and they look up the organizers, if they can find them, and then try to figure out if there's anything to be concerned about.
Yeah, essentially they do that too, but again, they use the same open source locations that anybody has. They will look at news media reports, anything anything that comes that's available on the internet, basically, to research someone's background.
Okay. Let's see. So, say an event is happening. What would be something that would trigger you? Like, what would be that line that crosses from it just being an event that you don't look into to being an event that you do?
Anything that poses a security threat to individuals, property, critical infrastructure.
Okay. So would you say like 500 people say they're across the street from something that is a critical infrastructure, but they're not necessarily on the property? Would that be an event that you would look into, or is it?
Look into. If it would go so far as to determine whether or not there was any threat to that critical asset.
Yeah.
I hate to use that term because it's so general, but it's just,
Yeah.
I'll use that term to just so we've got something.
Mm-hmm.
If there is no indication, if the group has not professed to overtake the facility, to damage the facility, to commit any illegal acts that threatens anybody, it's dropped.
Okay. Let's see. Got some straggling questions that didn't necessarily
Sure.
go to the line of questioning. Are the board of I may have asked this actually. Are the board of governors selected from participating agencies, or how are they selected?
Yeah, it's a blend of partner agencies as well as our own
Okay.
management.
Okay. And I know you mentioned that banking centers would be an example of critical infrastructure or something like that. Do you have access to banking records if you're investigating a specific individual that raises suspicion after you've looked into an event, right?
Well, the way it would work is that the JTTF might do that. If they determine that something is a potential terrorist threat, our folks really just turn it over to them and then they go with it. Local law enforcement agencies may do that, but we don't have folks here who, when something like that surfaces, will hop in their car and go down and with a subpoena and pull somebody's records. No, that doesn't happen.
And the CIAC doesn't share those banking records at all. They have no real access unless you get it from them.
Unless there's a criminal investigation,
Okay.
and the JTTF, as a part of CIAC, might be doing.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily CIAC. It's just a JTTF.
Right.
Okay. Let me make sure. I feel like I have. Do you have any questions, Kathy? That looks to be about everything. I know there's probably one or two things, small things that I may email you on just to get some information on, but I think that is everything. So, actually, do you know if you've worked with the ACLU at all in Colorado, as far as the privacy policy goes?
I don't know specifically whether the ACLU has had input to it, but I know they solicit input from anybody.
Yeah.
And even if you have something that you want to submit, send it to me and I'll get it to them, because they're undergoing a review of this right now.
Okay.
And I've sent some suggestions to them just recently. So.
Okay, and I believe Operation DEFUSE should have some recommendations because we're writing the privacy policy in Austin right now too. So, let's see. I believe that's about all. Do you have any questions for me?
No.